I just want to mention before we get going here that the underwriter for today's episode is Anchor Podcast platform. They're the free podcast people. They help anybody who wants to get their own podcast going to help them get it going for free. Doesn't cost anything. You can find them at anchor.fm or on their app, the Anchor app. Their core mission really is the democratization of audio so that audio can be used by anybody who wants to use it to reach people with their own voice. And they don't charge a dime for this. They've helped me. I'm grateful to them for doing that and grateful to them for supporting my voice so that you can hear it. This is Michael Moore, and you're listening to Rumble.
Hi, Michael.
Hi. And we're here with Portugal the Man. Let's just get the important questions out of the way first. There's three here, the main three people, and I have seen other people play with you. So, but you're essentially the origins of the band. It's the OG.
Yeah, Zach and I started the band. Eric and I have gone to school together since we were 6.
I play rhythm guitar and falsetto backup vocals.
Okay, yeah. So if you haven't heard of Portugal the Man, so okay. So you're right. So you play rhythm guitar, right?
We kind of swap around. We try and fill whatever role that we're best at, but it's fun.
Do any of you who else is playing multiple instruments? That what I wish I could see a band where they all take turns playing drums.
I wish Jason would sing more.
You can do that? Can you guys do that?
Yeah, we all, in the studio we do. We don't really live because it's, basically when we're in the studio, we're, like we were talking earlier, how it's like, it's not very good if everything works or is too good. We think a stage is best built on very, very thin ice. And so when we're in the studio, a lot of times we'll have an idea and we're like, who's closest to that instrument? Who has the idea? Because a lot of times I play bass like a bass player. But John will play it like a guitarist, and so it's way more interesting. And so if we get on things that we're not super comfortable with, a lot of times you end up thinking outside the box because you're not confined to knowledge, things like that. Ignorance is truly bliss.
So when you're writing a song, though, I'm guessing this is the case. There are going to be songs that are heavy on the percussion end of things.
Definitely.
And so do you say to yourself, well, I'm not really the drummer. You know what? I have to play on this particular song.
Yeah, that's kind of what it's about. It's sometimes you have Kyle, our keyboard player, play the drums because he's not the greatest drummer. Like sometimes you need that messy feel.
Wow.
That's the Cramps. That's caveman. You kind of need a caveman on the drums sometimes. Yeah. And then, you just pass things around. Yeah. That's the way this band has always been. It has always been whoever's closest to the instrument, give it a try. And if you have it, you have it.
And that's the way we came up.
Totally.
In your mom's basement, where
sure.
I learned 90% of the cover songs that I know today.
Yeah.
It was, who knows how to play this bass line? Who knows the guitar solo for this kind of thing?
Yeah,
right.
Figure it out.
So, you mentioned his mom's basement. Why don't we, first of all, establish which city each of you is from in Portugal?
It's all the same.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a Porto boy.
yeah.
Seriously, the name. I've been asked this 1,000 times, but the name is so unusual. What was the process of
it was the first thing that was said, really. John brought it up. Essentially, the intention was to create a fictional character, and we knew that we really liked the sound of having, a name in lights like James Brown or something. And we got inspired by David Bowie a lot, how he created a fictional character with Ziggy Stardust.
Right.
But we wanted to create a character, but we wanted the one name to kind of represent a whole group of people, because we were never going to be just one person. We always knew that we were going to be a community, we were going to be a collective of musicians. And so we knew we wanted to create the name of a person. We figured a country is one name for one group of people with one voice.
It's a cool name. Portugal's a cool name.
Yeah, it sounds cool, right?
It sounds cool. Just how some words are funny. They're just funny.
Yeah, totally.
And other words are not. They're
Platypus.
boring. Okay, so that's a good start. So Portugal, I get that part.
Yeah.
The Man.
Yeah, it's just basically implying that we are not Portuguese. It was just the furthest spot that John could think of from Wasilla, Alaska.
For some reason, it was the most exotic place that I could think of at the time. Just growing up and seeing maps and where we were on the map, and it felt like the other side of the world was.
When you look at that Mercator projection, that like top down sort of like 3x4 aspect.
Right.
Alaska's the end of the world that ends at the ocean, into the unknown, and Portugal is the end of the other world that ends at the ocean.
So let's establish for people who are listening or maybe not familiar. So this is a band from Alaska. This is where the three of you grew up. Two of you in Wasilla.
All three of us.
All three
We're
Wasilla
boys. Yeah.
Okay, so Wasilla. Now you're thinking, where I've heard that name before.
Oh no!
I'm sorry to have to put this on you. I know.
All right, it's happened before.
It's the only
We're
way.
sorry to have to put that on you.
Okay, that's a better way to look at it. Yes, because otherwise, the first time in my life, whenever that was going to be, when I heard the name Wasilla, I was going to like, wow, that sounds cool. And then they tell me about the place, and this, oh man, that sounds beautiful, And then
And it is.
and all of that may be true, but we know Wasilla, we Americans. I mean, I don't mean that you're not Americans because you're from Alaska. Please don't take it
Alaskans.
the wrong way.
Since 1959.
But Wasilla is where Sarah Palin was from, and she was the mayor. Is that correct? Of Wasilla,
City councilwoman, mayor, governor,
and then
many
the
things.
governor of Alaska. And so when John McCain picked her to be his presidential running mate, of course, none of us had ever heard of her. And this was the bio that we got. And she famously then said that in Wasilla, she could see Russia from her front porch. And of course, everybody with a camera went there to be near her porch to see what they could see. And it really
Turns out.
just looked like
Trees.
and you could hear snowmobiles. And that was kind of about it. Very disappointing.
Rap.
Yes.
But then, so the next time I hear Wasilla is you guys, and I'm thinking, okay, now we're going to talk to people who really grew up there, and you can tell us what life in Wasilla, especially under Mayor, I was going to say Mayor Pete, under Mayor Sarah. Well, this doesn't have the same ring to it, does it? No.
It's
Yeah.
a little automatopoeia.
Mayor Sarah Palin. So just give us just a little bit of Wasilla to the non-Wasilla educated audience.
I think you got this.
I got this. Picturesque little town. Interesting. Actually, not a pretty town at all. In the prettiest place. But oddly enough, every small town has one really adorable little main street that's just anywhere USA kind of thing. Wasilla doesn't have that. It's kind of it's not a pretty city, but in a beautiful place. Sarah Palin, she was fine as our mayor, kind of. We had it out. She does not like me. She loves Eric. We had some
Get
some
into
beef.
that later if you want.
Yeah, we will. Okay, but she loves you, and can you explain to us, is this a forbidden love, or is this just...
Oh, no, she dislikes me.
She dislikes you.
Loves Eric.
Loves you.
Yeah.
Okay, we will get into that later. Why does she dislike you?
I was pretty punk rock growing up, and I got into...
Palin punk.
Yeah, basically I was into skateboarding, and for those of you who've never been to Wasilla, not a ton of pavement. A lot of natural beauty, not a lot of places to skate.
Right.
So we started a committee. I was the president of the committee. My buddy Wes Hubbard, Adam Ryan, and some of our parents got together and created a committee to raise money to build a skate park. So we had to go to city council meetings from 14 to 17. I went to city council meetings every week when she was our mayor and just argued with her. And
Wow.
And so, but we got, after about a year and a half of arguing, we finally got a deal that if we raised a certain amount of money, that the city would match it, and we'd get a park. And we did, super fast.
A skateboard park.
Yeah, and it's still badass, and we got it. But basically, the deal was the whole community came together. We went to all the places that we'd skate their handrails and stairs that always would kick us out. And if they sold snow machines or ATVs, we talk to them. They'd I tell you what, we'll raffle off. You guys can have two to raffle because the community is really tight. Even though they hated us as skateboarders, they were very, very cool, and they agreed that we needed a place to do it. The whole community chipped in, washed cars. Our shitty band did a ton of benefit shows, bake sales. We raised the money super fast. We had a big old thermometer in City Hall and everything. We raised it super quick, and once we got it, went to the city. We had like $60,000-ish, and really fast. And then she told us that it wasn't in the budget anymore. And so we all got pretty bummed. And so then we had to fight her for another couple of years, and we just kept bringing more of my skate friends in, and which is pretty funny, because I'm sure they were trying to do real city things and deal with
Why do you think
things,
that she had this attitude about it? Why wouldn't she want people, especially teenagers, to be happy?
I mean, I don't know. She fought against too much. I think it was over like baseball fields and another hockey rink, and skaters.
Second hockey rink.
Yeah, a second hockey rink. And we had like 7 or 8 baseball fields. It was like, we had plenty of places like to do that.
At the time, city's got about 1,500 people in it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah,
it was kind of a bummer. And so we fought it hard. And I think, it's just skateboarding, it's not, there's a lot of, it gets frowned upon. I mean, a lot of it's there's some attitudes and stuff, but I think it's very, very important.
I'm guessing
people.
the thing you heard the most was, though, the liability insurance.
Liability, they're worried about drinking and drug use, graffiti, and stuff. But I was like, well, it'll all be happening at one spot.
Yeah.
Just drive by it, right? Put in some goddamn lights.
I'd rather you do it under my roof.
Exactly, right? Be responsible. And so we argued all these points. But eventually, after a very long time, she made good. We got a park. It was most frequented public property in Wasilla. And I'm super proud of that place.
Now, Eric, you say, though, that she has a certain love for you.
I wonder how short I can make this story.
Wow. How long does this love go on?
About not a long time. She cut her teeth as a journalist. She was a Wasilla product, born and bred. Went to the same high school that we all went. Graduated Wasilla High. Went to Boise State University and got herself a journalism degree. And she came back to Wasilla wanting to report on Alaskan topics. And at that time, in the late 80s and early 90s, my mom was a editor of a local community rag called The Frontiersman, like a little, kind of 15-page newspaper that was mostly the penny saver, and then, a couple of like local man grows record-breaking cabbage, news on page 12.
So,
My mom at that time, who's in charge of hiring and sort of field reporting, hires Sarah and gives her her first professional job. Oh. I'm 7, she's 24. I was in love with her.
right.
We were in love. We had, it was, again, I know it sounds like a respectable and glamorous kind of good paying gig, but no, it's a rag in Wasilla. So my parents couldn't afford babysitters. I lived in the newsroom. And we had this little honor bar full of like chocolate wafers and Mrs. Fields cookies and everything. And Sarah would hook me up. She would take care of me, and she called me Buster Brown. She would ruffle up my hair, and she'd be like, "Oh, Buster Brown." And then after my mom left and went to a different job, Sarah graciously took her job, and then took city council out of nowhere, mayor out of nowhere, governor totally out of nowhere.
And then the next one real out of nowhere.
So I know the nation was surprised by McCain picking Sarah Palin, but none of my family was.
Wow.
We saw that coming.
Wow. I didn't know where you were going to go with this
I didn't
story.
either, honestly.
And
wholesome.
I kept thinking, which watch list is she on from the state of Alaska?
I saw her in a parking garage last year, and she knew exactly who I was. She came up and gave me a hug.
Oh, well.
Terrible woman, but warm.
Yeah. Jeez. I got to believe the other people in Wasilla, though, are just like, please don't bring her up. We have to get known for something else.
We're working on it.
Well, then along comes you guys, right?
We had to get that Grammy.
Yeah.
You had to, right?
And then on the other hand, you have us.
Yeah, but you see, this now people
Sorry,
feel
Wasilla.
better, because this is not only I don't want to say the word respectable, because but
I
but
wouldn't either.
no offense either.
Yeah, no,
but
I'll take it.
I mean, part of what you're supposed to be doing is fighting the man, not being the man. So
Exactly.
So let's skip ahead here, because I should tell people we're backstage at a Bernie rally in Sioux City, Iowa. This is as far west as you can go in Iowa. About a mile away is the state of South Dakota. So
Pretty close to Nebraska, too.
and very close to, if you go down to Council Bluffs here in Iowa,
Right there.
across the river or whatever from, what is that river that goes through? Is that the Missouri River that goes through here?
Missouri, Ohio.
I'm not good at, no, Ohio is the other way.
It's named after a state for sure.
Yeah. I think
Open up the phone lines.
Yeah.
yes, I know.
Caller 8.
Whoever's got the correct answer first wins a new Buick.
That's
That's
very
generous.
Nebraskan.
I just started thinking, wow, where are we going to get the new Buick money from? But
That's the car that they used in Fargo too. Isn't that the dealership? It's a
Yes.
Buick dealership.
Yeah.
With Steve Buscemi. It's like, I got to find that Buick.
yeah, that's right. That's right. It's God, you bring up Fargo now. It just triggered it's a trigger word for me because
I'm so sorry.
No. But the Coen brothers who made Fargo called me up one day, and they were going to make this. This is before they made Fargo, and they called me up, said, "Would you ever be interested in being in a movie, like as an actor?" I said, "Well, I'm not an actor." Well, we think you might be really good for this role. So if you could, I'm going to send you some lines and come in and read. And I went in, and it was for the William H. Macy role of the car dealer guy.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I God, I couldn't believe this, and so but I get there, and there's literally in the audition waiting room, there's 8 other guys that basically look like me from the Midwest wearing parkas. I didn't know I was supposed to dress for the role when I showed up there, but so I went in, I read, and then a couple days later we want to do a callback, and it came down between William H. Macy and me. According to as I've been told the story, and I'm like, I cannot believe this. And all I could think of was like, this looks like a great script. Don't ruin it. You need to give William H. Macy the role.
You're gonna want that undercoating. Like, you're really gonna want to spring for that undercoating.
So, anyways, I'm sorry to interrupt our conversation. When you said Fargo, it's just like, wow. Yeah. But then later I thought, just that my life would have really changed had I been in that movie. So I don't know, but I'm okay now. There's therapy for things like this. And anyways, we're backstage. We're backstage here.
Safe space.
In a safe space. The Bernie rally is over. You guys have done this for 2 nights in a row now. Where were we last night?
We're in Des Moines.
We were in Ames.
Oh, in
Ames,
Ames.
just north of Des Moines.
Yeah.
At the Iowa State University.
I'll trust you on that. Yeah.
Yes. And so you guys came here to perform these 2 nights. You're not on tour or anything. You're just... You live in Portland now, is that right? And so, first of all, thank you for doing that. I don't speak on behalf of the campaign. Believe me, that's the last thing they would want is me speaking on behalf of this campaign.
Us too.
Yeah, same.
I get my drift.
Look around nervously. Really quick.
They're everywhere. During my speech, they kept sending notes up to the podium,
Written on a water bottle that they just put on the podium.
No, it's like these
Lay
notes.
off it.
Stop talking.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, there you go.
And I'm like, rap. I was off somewhere in that speech. I hope I didn't lose you guys there, but I was I had some things I wanted to say about my state.
Yeah.
We got some things that we want to say about our state.
Right. Right, because Alaska doesn't have to stay a red state.
Alaska hasn't been a red state.
Right.
Historically, Alaska has swung red, but it hasn't always been the case. And when it does go to the other side, it does in dramatic fashion. When we were kids, I don't want to give away our age, but when we were kids in the 90s, in Bill Clinton's America, we had kind of a slick, smooth-talking governor that was compassionate to human rights issues, and it votes blue occasionally. Right now, things being as they are, we've got a very red governor that's taking dead aim at the environment, and we suspect dead aim for an end goal of opening up Anwar. And that's our state and that's our people. And
risk the environment to bring that oil down.
they think there might be oil there. No one knows. That's the
Well,
thing.
they actually really don't know, do they?
They've explored all of the Arctic. They've got these, sensors that, look into the ground, and it's super inconclusive. But this is one of the only protected American wildlife refuge on the Arctic Ocean. And it's home to so many species that don't exist anywhere else. And I think just going on speculation and having a governor that sort of stages up these budget crises when we're one of the most resource-rich states in the nation, if not the most, it's pretty criminal and pretty ridiculous.
Rebel for kicks. And it really was 1966. It was I started writing these like quasi-political poems in 6th and 7th grade, and then the next year were the Detroit riots, and there was a lot going on, the Vietnam War and everything, and so of course this is obviously everybody loves this song, everybody's heard it, on the radio and everywhere else. And I forget what's the line in the song where you go to 1986. First of all, you guys weren't alive in 1966. Am I safe to say that?
Parents were. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Very alive in
But
1986.
let me just get to the point that I was asking you about the Alaskan politics earlier, and what people of my age and obviously people older than me, because I again was just a kid, but I was paying attention to what was going on in the world in 6th and 7th and 8th grade. When Lyndon Johnson, the President of the United States, went on TV back in August of 1964 and told the American public that we had just been attacked by the North Vietnamese, that our one of our Navy ships or whatever had been attacked in the Gulf of Tonkin, and we must declare, we have to go to, not declare, but they wanted the authorization to go to war, similar how to Iraq started all this. We know there's weapons of mass destruction there, and we got to go to war. Like the next day, I think the entire United States Senate voted to send us to Vietnam. 59,000 dead soldiers later, and anywhere, they don't know the exact number, 2 million to 4 million Southeast Asian dead by the end of this fiasco. But there were 2 senators that stood up and said no. And man, was it the bravest thing to do. And one of them was the senator from Alaska, Senator Gruning.
I didn't know that.
Did you know the story?
No.
I've heard that, but
Yeah. And remember now, at that point, okay, so this is 1964, Alaska's only been a state for 4, 5.
Yeah.
do you know if it was pre or post earthquake?
August would be post.
That was post.
This would be 64.
Yeah, 64 is the big earthquake.
But the vote was 64, so this is August. So I remember this earthquake because I remember as a child being frightened by this footage in Anchorage, literally the earth opening and these huge cracks that I think people died, right? I mean, people went, it sucked cars and people.
51 people died.
And they fell, I mean, they didn't fall into a crack that was like 2 feet deep.
But it's crazy now. The difference between like 3rd Avenue and 2nd Avenue is like 100 feet. It's crazy.
My grandma, she wrote a parking meter looking at the newly built JCPenney like a mechanical bull, because it was a seven minute.
And what month, do you remember what month this was in 1964?
Black Friday, whenever that is.
Whenever
is
that was.
After Easter, so April.
I see people in the room going to Google. So we shall have the answer shortly.
Black Friday, like the shopping sale day after Thanksgiving.
So you guys weren't alive yet.
It's April.
But this is such a moment for Alaskans that you immediately jumped to that. It must feel, if you are lifetime Alaskans, it has this sort of, it wasn't the same thing, but a 9/11 quality to it, to where everybody knows where they were and everybody remembers the loss. And everybody feared it happened again, because we all know it will happen again.
And it was aftershocks for a month.
Yes,
right. It was perpetual. And today, my mom lives in a building that was reduced to rubble that got rebuilt. I think she was in the hotel that completely got finished the week that the earthquake happened. hit the ground, and then they rebuilt it with some springs in the foundation.
Okay, so this earthquake happened in March of '64.
Okay.
The made-up attack, okay, and maybe I didn't make that clear earlier, that the North Vietnamese never attacked us. We were not attacked in the Gulf of Tonkin. It was some general, some admiral, somebody wired something to somebody, and there was some kind of a little, kerfuffle, but not any kind of attack. And I think we were in their waters. And, what are we doing 10,000 miles from home anyways, thinking we can just roll up into somebody else's shore. But a lie started that war. And it was a senator from Alaska, and I believe the other senator was from Oregon, were the only two that said, I don't believe this. And, I got to tell you, 1964, you didn't say stuff like that about the President of the United States. But here's your Senator Gruning, this is just 5 months after this devastating earthquake. And the last thing I would think if you were an Alaskan politician would be, don't say anything that's going to rock the boat. Because we need help, we need funding, we need, we need relief. Yeah. And yet he still stood there on that floor and said, no, I don't believe this. And all the other senators, at least a majority of them, agreed with him. We wouldn't have lost those 59,000 young people. And the Vietnamese wouldn't have lost all of their people. Civilian populations being bombed, especially by Nixon, some of the largest bombing that's happened in the history of mankind. I think during the Christmas, what's called the Christmas bombing of 1972, it went on for about a week, where we just carpet bombed North Vietnam. Yeah. More bombs dropped during that week than any battle in World War II. Wow. I mean, it was
firebombing of Dresden. And
the number of people killed, and it's mostly against civilian populations. This history really hasn't been written properly, and when it is written, the people responsible won't look good. The person that'll look like a hero is the senator from Alaska, and he's still alive. We
met him. Briefly at the show, and he's like, I had never heard, I didn't know that story. And
he came to your show.
Well, it wasn't our show. We were there doing a rally against the governor now, and so
because he's still political, and and he ran for president, I think, a couple of times ago.
If you're that much of a firebrand, you don't retire and just kind of like hang it up.
But that's the same. That's the same with Bernie, though, in the sense that somebody asked him in Dubuque the other week, "Don't you think you're too old to run?" And he said, well, here's what's too old. And then he goes through this list of things that we've had to put up with for so long. Yeah. But he said, here's what you get. The difference between me and the kids that I'm running against here in this race, the younger people, younger than him. They're not all kids. Two of them in their 70s themselves.
I just found out that Pete's younger than I am.
Yeah, right?
We won't talk about that.
Okay, yes, Mayor. Okay, now I'll see if this tops that. Mayor Pete, yes, is younger than you. Lev Parnas, the guy that's
back to Lev. Yeah,
Lev and Igor, right? Lev is younger than anyone in the entire cast of Friends. He's younger. He's younger. I heard this the other day. Somebody saw. He's younger than Paul Rudd. What? What is it? I know, it's so weird. And the thing with Mayor Pete is that
Paul Rudd looks great.
Yeah. Paul Rudd looks
great. Yeah. But Mayor Pete he's the millennial in the race, and he has 2% of the millennial vote. That when they do the polls, he's always like the last, like what are millennials trying to tell us about Mayor Pete? But you were saying that Alaskan politics are not always all red, and you think there is some hope in the future, just like I feel toward Texas. I feel that will be a blue state sooner than we think. And I think Alaska, just look at Murkowski. She's just got to be going crazy in the head over this because she sees it, she knows it, and she knows that she's got to do the right thing. And oftentimes she doesn't do it because I think she's just afraid.
Of course, yeah. She's mired by
senator.
She's mired by history, and I think Lisa's a compassionate person, and she's a big picture person. And she's shown that she's, open to dialogue and discussion. And I think that's the only way that it starts. I think we've had a lot of career politicians in Alaska that have stuck around. Ted Stevens International Airport.
Yep, totally.
But it's
the bridge to nowhere.
He's the internet is a series of tubes.
Oh, internet is a series of tubes. What was the bridge to nowhere? Bridge to nowhere was.
Bridge to Nowhere was
it Lisa's father?
I thought that was Ron Young or Don
Young. Yeah.
Oh, Don. Yes.
Was it Don Young? Yeah, I think it was Don Young.
I think so.
You do.
We've had some wild ones.
No, you have to admit that the politicians you've produced could be a running comedy series.
It's like The Office, but so sad.
Oh, man. So how did you guys get turned on to getting behind Bernie here? What happened here?
He's punk rock, man.
He's punk rock.
He's punk rock, and looking at politics at home, getting all screwy, being informed by the bigger picture. I think there's a domino effect with all that kind of stuff, and I think Lisa Murkowski is a great argument. I think bringing it back to a place of compassion is just being able to have conversations is where we need to be and where we're definitely not.
What do you think about this?
Just thinking.
In a hush falls over the room.
I know it got really quiet in here.
My campaign is going to be run.
I don't like politicians. I like activists. That's why I like Bernie. I like the stuff that he's done. I like that he's stayed consistent. He's out there fighting, and that's what it's being Alaska. Like John always talks about. It's like we've never I'm new to politics. I from Alaska. I never cared. I was pretty much an anarchist until recent years, where I was like, oh God, you can't. You have to do something now. I've just always wanted to care for my neighbor and care for people that I don't know, and that's where the connection is. Because in Alaska, you just help each other out. If John always talks about if you're driving down the road, you see somebody on the side of the road, you stop. Yes, if they're all right.
Right.
It's all about just asking a question, making a choice,
you don't
and
check
where
the
to go.
bumper stickers. You don't do any of that.
No,
kind of
man.
stuff.
It's like
automatic.
It's like, dude, you work hard and you stick up for your community and check in on the house next to you, or you'll die. And that's what's going on here. And
voting for Bernie is the way maybe to prevent that.
Exactly. And you got to get. I don't know. You can just tell that he cares. And what it is it's about fighting for things that you don't need. Like, I don't I happened to somehow I got lucky and we had a hit. And so this is we've been very, very poor but we've been artists, and we've had the privilege to be able to choose that. And we've, taken that, we've lived in vans, and we've done this thing forever. But
The idea of wealth back home in Alaska, I mean, it's basically, I have 2 jackets and you have none. You can have one of my jackets.
Exactly.
It is about helping each other out, and it's not about beliefs or anything. It's just help out your parents, help out your friends, help out the person on the side of the road.
Whoever needs it.
It's a food cash society. That's how Alaska became what it is. It's like, well, I'm overflowing, and I noticed that the Johnsons down the road are a little short on fish right now.
Yeah.
So Bernie, he won the Alaskan primary in 2016.
Did he? We were talking about, because you said 4 out of the 5 states that touch the Pacific carried Bernie. Who is the 5th? Right.
At the time, it was Hawaii, Alaska, California, Oregon, and Washington. And I don't know. He's from the campaign. He can maybe tell
Caleb.
us.
Yeah. Oh, we were supposed to give you a shout out in this podcast too, weren't we? You're amazing, and now we got a question to ask for you.
He's the greatest ever done.
Bernie won the Alaskan primary, right? Maybe I'm wrong. What if it's 5 out of 5?
Wow.
It's a lot. It just struck me. I don't know why I'm weird about this sort of thing, but I was like, God, if you touch the Pacific Ocean, you voted for Bernie. If you touch Canada, you voted for Bernie. And
he won the Alaska caucuses.
Yeah, it was a caucus. Because I'll tell you how I know this. For some reason, it was on a Saturday, and I just was flipping through the TV, and I came across C-SPAN, and they're live all day in Alaska at the caucuses. And I'm going, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
When is Alaska ever on TV all day, nationwide, live?
Yeah.
Right? And it was really interesting because they let the cameras in there, And so you could see the caucus, and you see Alaskans talking to each other. And there's parts of Michigan that look, it's the Upper Peninsula.
Totally.
It's exactly the same clothes, the same everything. People eating inside the caucus.
Beer,
somebody brings
hockey,
kielbasa.
Totally,
There's and I just thought, wow, this looks like a cool place to do politics, because I'm guessing, like what you just said, you're not thinking about that person you're giving your jacket to, whether it's a Democrat or a Republican, and people don't define themselves. Nobody walks around saying, "Oh, I'm a Democrat," or "Oh, I'm a Republican." I would think that people in Alaska vote for the person and decide.
I'd 100% agree with that.
Right? Yeah. And sometimes they make a mistake, and sometimes it's the wrong person. Sometimes their choice is kind of like the crazy people you mentioned earlier. There's a crazy choice in front of me here. But in the end, I don't know. It's always impressed me as the kind of place. A lot of us have this dream of living there someday, because everything about it feels good, from the air you're going to breathe to the people you're going to be with. And I have been there. It's not one of my 3 states I haven't been to. I've actually been to Alaska.
What are the other 3?
In about an hour, it'll be 2. South Dakota, North Dakota, and Wyoming.
Wow.
Those are my last 3 states. But I'll tell you, have you been to Iceland? Have you guys played Iceland yet?
I haven't been to Iceland yet.
It's going to feel like you're home, and you don't have to worry about the language, because they speak like better English than we speak. Yeah. But it really is that sort of ethos that you were describing here about Alaska. So I would encourage you to go there. Wow. Plus, I think they love your music too. It's very,
I like their music. I like their music.
Absolutely.
Yes, the Icelandic music is
that or will die kind of mentality. That's not ghoulish overkill. That's literally something that my mom would say to us when we were packing up the car. 'Cause my dad's family lived in Fairbanks, a couple hundred miles across the middle of the state. Like, it's Christmas.
Yeah.
We lost the coin toss, so we got to go up there. And we have to make sure that we have gas, heaters, electric blankets, all that kind of stuff, or we'll die. That raises a very particular kind of person.
right.
It's a specific mentality.
Try to explain that to people too, because I think I've had that feeling. I've only done this once, driving across Death Valley in California.
Oh, yeah.
It's like
You'll
starts
die.
to hit you like, holy shit, where are the humans?
Yeah.
Where there's no gas.
Yeah.
There's no Mickey D's. There's like nothing
Yeah.
here, and it's 120 degrees.
Yeah.
But I'm in California. You keep saying to yourself, I'm in California. Come on.
Yeah.
And then another 20 or 30 miles goes by, and you're going, and there's a weird, I don't know what that is. That thing where if you don't like heights and you're up too high.
Vertigo or any of
So
that.
you're driving to Fairbanks, Alaska. You got to think that out, or it could fuck you up.
Well, Death Valley and Fairbanks, either way, your zip code starts with a 9. That's how small this very big country is.
Right.
Like we're all kind of fighting on the same
The whole
front.
West Coast begins with a 9, including Alaska.
It
What
is,
about
but
Hawaii? Are they 9 also?
I think they're 9s. I think
They gotta be,
they're like a
because there's
9.
no 10.
They're like a 9-2 or something. Yeah. Some dude from Hawaii is going to be like, hey, it's just 10.
Yeah.
0. No, it's
What do you want to do? You say you had this hit, but you've had obviously more than that, and so now you're in this. You're not in the spot. You've lived without health care in the past. You've maybe wanted things that you couldn't afford to have, and now you've had this success, and it. I guess I'm asking this because I have the same thing. I mean, I have a high school education. I wasn't supposed to really do much of anything other than just be happy, and then this comes along, and what do you? I guess we all have to have that internal discussion about what am I going to do about this, because it's not right on some level that I have this and so many millions of people don't have it. So how do I go about sharing that?
You do what you do. You make movies that inform people. I think it's all about connection and storytelling. I think the entire world is just it's just a collection of stories. And
Each of your songs are that.
exactly. Every movie, every photograph,
Yeah.
every word, that's where language comes from. It's all a way to just connect with one other person. And so that's where it starts. And that's what was really interesting. We got to go around, like I said, I'm fairly new to politics in general. We got to go around to some of the local offices and talk to people that are out like canvassing for the caucus and knocking on doors.
Okay, but I just want to disagree with something that you said about yourself. And we don't know each other, you know, personally or whatever. But at the beginning of this, one of our first discussions were how at the age of 14,
Oh, that's true.
you fought City Hall.
That was by accident. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just listening to the dead Kennedys Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
I was raging against the machine. I just had no idea what it was.
What
Right.
the machine actually was.
Right, which again, now we go to what I just played a little earlier.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
a rebel for kicks.
Yeah, totally.
I mean,
it's coming back around, yeah.
You understand? I don't mean to be drawing the
No, that's true.
this analysis for you guys, but
Well,
no,
I
but
should also say I'm a goddamn liar. I haven't told the truth in weeks. And just kidding.
It's also been multiple times where I'm just like looking over and I'm like, yo, that's Michael Moore. Like, we should be asking him that question.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
what do you
want
mean
to
right now?
Yeah.
I mean, in general, like throughout this entire interview, it's great.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The
Yeah.
all right,
Teasing.
you can each ask me a question before we're done.
Yeah,
that's fine.
But no, but I think this is how the country is going to change, and it is changing because people don't sign up to be political. They don't get involved in politics. You know, there's not some method or some timeline they have to follow. I think most people had their first political experience, as you say in the song, for kicks. In other words, for kicks means that you just decide one day, fuck it,
Yeah.
I'm going to do this. Fuck it, I want a skateboard park.
Yeah.
And you're 14 years old, and somehow you think, somewhere in your being, you think you can make this happen when you're just a kid. And as more and more Americans feel like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I'm a bartender. And one day the light bulb goes off and she says, yeah, I'm a bartender, but I could also be a member of the United States Congress. Where would you have loved to have been inside her head where she made that leap and actually believed it? So she tells the story. She calls up the Democratic Party in New York. And, yeah, I'm thinking I'd like to run for Congress. Do I need to sign up somewhere? What do I need to do? And they tell her, she said in the speech here, do you believe you can raise $300,000 from friends and family and associates? And she just laughed. I mean, she's living on tips.
Yeah.
And they just hung up on her. It was just like, okay, you know, I'm sure they tell how many people this.
Yeah.
Don't even think about it. Don't even bother. And at 14, something made you bother. And you were not a political person, and yet you are. People say to me, you know, I don't want to get involved in politics. I don't like politics. I'm not interested in it. And I always say to them, well, you know what? Politics is interested in you. It's interested in your money. It's interested in taking it from you. It's interested in your life and taking your life from you if necessary. Drafting you into a war that has no purpose. Politics is very, very interested in you.
Absolutely.
And the quicker we all wise up to that and say, oh, okay, then I'm ready for the fight. That's the punk rock thing that you like about Bernie, obviously.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
At this age, he is on fire. We can't keep up with him on this tour. We're doing a 12-day tour of Iowa. And it's like, how does he do this?
The dude is turbocharged.
What is that in him?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I
Right?
looked at his
That's
schedule. We
fire.
were talking about our promo tours. Like, I mean, this is more hectic than the promo tours we did, and we're still exhausted. Like, we're still wiped out. He's doing stuff all day long.
Yeah.
He's traveling. He's speaking.
Have you had a chance to talk to him much backstage or
Briefly,
before?
did a couple of little pass-throughs. Like,
Yeah.
I got a real good one-on-one handshake earlier. It was fun. But no, he's relentless and he's putting the pressure on. And yesterday in Ames, there was a overflow in the gym in the community center that we were playing, and he jumped up on a sub stage and did 30 minutes there because they were there to see him.
Right.
And that's
Right.
what it is.
You did too, right?
Yeah, I did it. Yeah.
That's how you do it.
I mean, more like Zach's experience, the Sarah Palin experience. We weren't political. Like, they just wanted a skate park built. And I think the thing that we saw in Palin was she thought this was a get these kids out of here situation. Like, yeah, go raise 70 grand and I'll build you a skate park. She didn't know that her own community would be pitching in for this.
Right.
She didn't realize that the same Honda dealership that was kicking us out of the parking lot was going to donate ATVs and snowmobiles and helping us raise this money. Like, she didn't understand the people that she was supposed to be the mayor of. She was supposed to be representing these people. And that's what I like about Bernie. Like, he's out here talking to the people. He cares about people. Sarah had no idea what her community was about and what her community wanted.
So what do you hope will happen here in this year of 2020? What do you think?
Changes.
Yeah.
I'm ready for it, man. I think I'm excited for. There's a good feeling. I mean, there's not a good feeling right now. There's a lot of bad feelings.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, like, that's sadly that's what it takes. After a tragedy like the Alaskan earthquake, like after 9/11, after things like that, people bond together and they fix shit. And I think that people they don't like the way that the rest of the world looks at us right now. And in this day and age, you can see it where you couldn't before if you didn't travel. We've traveled a lot, so it's really interesting going to different places. And we go to Europe when Bush is in town, then we go to Europe when Obama's in town. Then we see, and then same with Trump, we see the looks that we get when people hear an American accent, and we feel it.
In the kebab shop,
Yeah.
just walking by.
Yeah, totally.
Who are you voting for?
Yeah.
They'll just shout across at you.
Yeah.
And it's not people that are there to benefit off of a Democrat being in power or a Republican being in power. Like, they care. They care
good
about
person.
what we're doing in the world.
Yeah, it's concern on a global scale, and patriotism is a little problematic at the moment.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's sad.
Well, I really want to thank you for coming on my podcast. We're all
Were we
tired.
doing a podcast this whole time?
Yeah, this is actually a real podcast, I've been talking to people across the state here, and but I believe you're the first. This is the first band. This is only like my 5th or 6th week of doing this. Am I right? It's the first.
First band, yeah.
First
All right.
band. First any music, if you don't count Tim Robbins playing music in Bob Roberts. But other than that, we had De Niro on, and he did not sing. I'm just saying.
De Niro's been so killer through this whole process, hasn't he?
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
He's been on.
He's been awesome.
He's the Oracle.
Yeah.
He's a bully. He doesn't do his homework. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
Like, all of his pull quotes are up there.
Oh
Yeah,
my
it's
God.
so
Yeah, those
good.
are the ones that are the PG-13.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'd love to hear him in just the back room.
Yeah,
Once
well,
an
that's kind of what it was.
NC-17 De Niro.
Yeah.
I did like an hour and 10 minutes with him. You can check it out. It's
Yeah,
like episode
I
number
will.
4.
Killer.
But there's one thing I want to correct before we turn the mics off, and don't think less of me, because I heard all your compliments and everything, and I don't have a device in front of me, so nobody has fed me anything here.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have a brain that was trained by nuns and Jesuits, and even though it's late at night, it clicked in about 10, 15 minutes ago that Gruning was the senator from Oregon. And the senator who voted against the Vietnam War, the one of the 2 senators, was the Alaskan senator, and his name was Mike Gravel.
That's right, Ravel. Yeah,
That's who you
That's
met.
right. I was wondering.
I was going to correct you, but I was like, you probably know better than I do.
For sure.
In the
I'm not
moment I
doing
did,
it
because I'm
anyway.
so
Yeah.
wasted, and you brought me a beer.
I got you a tall boy.
I got a couple of friends sitting in the room here. They can tell you how many of these a year I drink. Anybody want to guess?
Shit ton.
3. Yeah, 3 would be. I would say maybe 2 beers and 4 White Russians.
All right.
That's a total Kahlua and cream on the rocks.
Oh, yeah.
That's a Caucasian.
Yes, right. It's a
Yeah.
So we all did have a little beer here before we started.
Were you talking about the Gulf of Tonkin resolution? Wayne Morse, Oregon, and Ernest Gruning, Alaska.
No.
Okay.
No, that can't. My brain is so
Now
fried
I'm
right now.
confused.
So I was right.
You were right.
Then I corrected myself that I was wrong.
I'm so glad I didn't correct you.
Yeah.
Not sure he's got a street named
But
after him in Anchorage.
what did Mike Gravel do? He did something
Yeah, he
huge.
did.
Was it
He did.
related to Watergate?
What? Pentagon Papers?
Pentagon Papers, I think.
What was it? What was it?
Was he a pipeline
okay.
guy?
This is Donald, our sound engineer, is now weighing in on this. But it had something to do with the Pentagon Papers. There was a Spielberg film about this, like a year or two ago, called The Post.
United States.
Huh?
He put the Pentagon Papers into the public record.
Yeah, was great too, because he was risking some kind of arrest. These are classified documents, and they figured the only way they were going to get them in the public record, because no paper could print them, according to a court order at the time. So Gravel takes to the floor. Okay, so this is the senator. So there's Gruning and there's Gravel, and Gruning. Gravel starts reading these classified documents of the truth of how we really got into Vietnam and how we were lied to, risking arrest, doing this. I remember this. It was just like, it was, wow, I'm like a 1-2 punch out of Alaska. First, Gruning votes against the Gulf of Tonkin resolution that started the Vietnam War, and then boom, in comes Gravel, maybe.
He came in 68, so he succeeded.
Oh, wow.
So he succeeded Gruning, and then he did this Pentagon Papers thing in 71.
Well, that's what Alaska should be. We're not a complacency state. We're the new kids.
Yeah.
And you're
Just
not
showed up
going
and we're
along
like,
to go along.
And the people, the people that first went up there, they didn't,
also-
they weren't about, playing along.
We were a state for 5 years, and our state got destroyed by an earthquake.
Yeah.
All bets are off at that.
Yeah, totally.
Come on, Murkowski.
Yeah.
And Wayne Morse, just to put a plug in for the senator from Oregon, who was the other vote against the Vietnam War, he went on to do other great things too, to expose what the CIA had been doing, to encourage releasing the truth about J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI and how they spied on Martin Luther King. And Morse was a Republican. These were they just, in the way that you wish right now there'd be more Republicans that were just so sick and tired of the whole thing, and would
had a
just
moral compass.
Yes, have a moral compass, because they do have a conscience. They're human beings. They have a conscience. It's that rare human that is so. If there only were like a shrink in the room that could explain this better than I can, but basically, maybe Hitler didn't have a conscience.
Yeah.
Can we get my therapist in here?
Is your therapist out in the hallway right now?
We bring one on tour.
The guy from the campaign, is he any good at this?
No, my guy's in Ballard up in Seattle.
He's the best to do it.
Yeah.
Caleb, what's up with that?
What's up with what?
I don't know.
We've got a lot of people weighing in on this podcast, but hey, listen, I really wanted to thank you for coming on Rumble, being the first band on my podcast. So there will, I want to get a picture of you too before we go, and because we have a wall on our back home in the studio of all the different people that have done this podcast. We usually do it with a Polaroid, but I don't think we brought it with us on this trip. But we'll
He's
get
got a Hasselblad.
Yeah, I got plenty of film over there.
That's kinda
cool
cool.
stuff. Yeah.
All right. Top down and everything.
But please do more. Your music is great, and you've got more to give us, right? I mean, we're not.
Oh yeah.
We're trying, yeah.
No pressure.
Sick. Yeah. We got this.
Sure, Michael.
Yeah.
Well, if the response tonight is any indication, again, like I said, you had a variety of musical tastes and interests in this crowd that we had here tonight, and they were thrilled with your performance and what you gave them, and I'm sure very grateful for you making the trip here to Iowa to stand up and support the person that you support for our next president. So
We're doing it for them too. It's like everybody's here for Bernie. That's what we've been saying this whole time. It's like all the people that are supporting Bernie, and they're doing that in hopes that he gets elected and he will help support them. So everything goes in a circle. So we're supporting those people that are out pounding the pavement, that are, to the caucus, to people that are standing up for what they believe in. So we're here for them.
Okay, and Alaskans, don't forget, you've got a caucus coming up here.
Get on it.
Sometime this spring.
Look up the location.
Make us proud.
Look up the location, look up the date, and study the issues. And even if you're not for Bernie, I'd rather you. It's more important to me that you stand up and take a stand for what you believe in than staying home. So whoever you support, come on out and support that candidate. And I'm going to be watching on C-SPAN Live as you drink your beer and eat your kielbasa while you caucus.
Let's fly
And I encourage other people, find out when Alaskan Caucus Day is. It doesn't look like anything else in the lower 48. So
It's our fashion week.
yes.
Driving up.
Thank you. This is Portugal.